And a lot to get to this morning, starting with the White House urging millions of parents to get their young children the COVID shot.
Some are already doing just that after the CDC signed off on the Pfizer vaccine for kids as young as 5. Shots with smaller doses now going into smaller arms all across the country. President Biden says vaccinations for kids 5 to 11 will be in full swing starting next week.
As soon as next week, we'll have enough vaccine and enough places, and parents will be able to schedule appointments to get their kids their first shot. And we've already secured enough vaccine supply for every single child in America ages 5 through 11.
Serious new concerns this morning about the long-term impact of COVID-19. A new study shows that in some cases, the virus can attack the brain, resulting in long-term neurological effects. NBC News health and medical reporter Erica Edwards joins us now with more on these latest findings. Erica, good morning. This is sort of a scary one and one that I know we keep slowly learning more about. So walk us through this new report. We've heard of COVID impacting a patient's lungs, of course, but tell us exactly what it can do to other parts of the body, including the brain, and what effect it has, especially long-term.
Yeah. Hey, Savannah. Good morning. So first of all, this research is considered quite preliminary, but it suggests that the virus can impact the brain directly going through the nose, which makes sense, right, considering all the people who lost their sense of smell early on. But it suggests that once this SARS-CoV-2 virus infects neurons in the brain, it can then travel to other parts of the brain, regions that affect things like emotion, mood, and memory. Savannah?
Now, Erica, could this explain that brain fog symptom that we've heard a lot of recovering patients experience? Is that what this is, or any other cognitive issues?
Savannah, that's exactly right. And that's certainly the theory that these scientists are going on right now. Another new study found marked differences in the brain waves when they compared COVID-19 patients who were never even sick enough to be hospitalized compared with others who tested negative for COVID-19. And it basically, what they're thinking it meant was that their brains were not working as efficiently or as effectively as they could have. Savannah?
And so now, even with this new report, with some of this information we now have, how much more research needs to be done in order to get more conclusive answers on this disease's long-term impact on people?
A tremendous amount. Again, this is very early. It has not been peer-reviewed yet, but there is a sense of urgency among scientists worldwide to try to figure out what's going on with these people who are experiencing profound fatigue and brain fog, months after their initial infection. Here in the U.S., it's estimated that, that's about 11 million people just in this country alone. And there's no treatment, Savannah. They're really just left either treating their symptoms or really just dealing with their issues on their own. Savannah? All
right, Erica Edwards, thank you so much.
Dr. Bob Lahita joins us now, professor at the Hackensack Meridian School of Medicine and director of autoimmune and rheumatic diseases at St. Joseph Health. So, Dr. Bob, let's stay on this topic of long COVID. What have you seen in patients who are still dealing with symptoms weeks, even months after initially contracting the virus?
Well, Joe, probably the worst case was a patient that we saw about 8 months after being infected, a young man in his early 20s who could not even press the gas pedal or the brake pedal in his car. He couldn't steer, and his father had to bring him to the hospital or for his appointments. We're seeing everything from loss of taste and smell to the chronic brain fog that you heard about, fibromyalgia-like symptoms, inability to sleep, headache, shortness of breath, lots and lots of joint pain, and overall fatigue in general. So it's been a real slog for these poor people who continue to suffer.
Yeah, especially with so many unanswered questions still about all that. Now, doctor, we want to ask you about younger kids getting the COVID vaccine. Of course, this big news. So we just heard there a moment ago, a parent that Ellison Barber spoke with. She said she's worried about the side effects her 6-year-old may get for the vaccine, and she might want to take this wait and see approach. And actually, according to these recent polls, more parents want to take that approach or definitely not get their child vaccinated than parents who plan to go right away. What's your message to parents who think their kid may be too young to get the vaccine?
The younger the child is, the better the immune system and the more robust the response. The vaccine is exceedingly safe. We are giving the vaccine as of 10:30 this morning at the Hackensack Meridian Children's Hospital and the Jersey Shore Medical Center, and the phones are burning up. Everybody wants to get in with their child before the holidays, when the young children are going to be with the adults, the grandparents, etc. They want to be safe. They want to say that everybody at the Thanksgiving dinner, for example, is vaccinated. It's very safe. Go out and get your child vaccinated as soon as you can.
Doctor, looking ahead, we've got one more age group that still remains, and Pfizer's CEO said earlier this week that vaccine data for kids ages 2 to 5 would likely be ready by the end of this year. I know we just got the green light for 5 to 11, but how soon could even younger kids get the vaccine?
Oh, I think that will be probably after the first of the year, and I think it's, again, perfectly safe. Admittedly, children constitute about 0.08% of the infections that we know about. But there's always that rare child that gets very, very sick with multi-system inflammatory syndrome, and they wind up in the intensive care unit, the pediatric intensive care unit, and it's very, very worrisome. And there's nothing more heartbreaking than to see a little child suffering with all of the shortness of breath, the headache, the pains that we see in adults.
All right, Dr. Bob, appreciate your time and expertise as always. Thank you.
Now to new election results out of New Jersey and the race for governor there this morning. NBC News projects Governor Phil Murphy has won re-election. This actually makes him the first Democratic governor to win a second term in New Jersey in 44 years. Murphy defeated Republican Jack Ciattarelli after an unexpectedly tight race.
Thank you for putting your trust in our team for another 4 years. Thank you for saying we need to keep moving forward on our shared journey to a stronger and fairer New Jersey.
NBC News correspondent Rahema Ellis joins us now from Clifton, New Jersey. Rahema, good morning. This is the one we were waiting for. So Governor Phil Murphy declared victory yesterday. Looking ahead to his next term, tell us what he said.
Good morning, Savannah. What he said is probably going to be a topic of discussion at this diner here, the TikTok diner in New Jersey. It's a favorite spot for people campaigning for office here in New Jersey. And what he said basically was to New Jersey's residents, I hear you. He acknowledged what you pointed out, that he made history being the first Democratic governor to win re-election in this state since 1977. And he went on to say that he wants to move forward, bringing everybody in New Jersey together. Take a listen.
If you want to know what the future looks like, folks, come to New Jersey. If you want to understand where America is heading, look to New Jersey. And if you want to be governor of all of New Jersey, you must listen to all of New Jersey. And New Jersey, I hear you.
He went on to tout his progressive record in terms of education, in terms of women's rights, union rights, and hiring, and the minimum wage being higher here and leading that cause across the country. I think that's something that he realizes that a lot of people wanted to hear from him, and he's now sounding that message back to them.
So, Rahema, Murphy and Ciattarelli, his opponent, I mean, they were going back and forth here with a lead for a little while. It was quite a close race, as we mentioned, unexpectedly. What is Ciattarelli's campaign saying now? How are they responding to the results? And does that closeness mean there's any chance of a recount?
Well, a recount is not automatic here in New Jersey. It would require a candidate to request it. No one, I think, would be surprised if Ciattarelli says he wants that recount. But he's also saying, basically, hold on, not so fast about claiming a presumptive winner here. He sent out a tweet last night. We've got a full screen. I want to read to you what he said. He said, with the candidate separated by a fraction of a percent out of 2.4 million ballots cast, it is irresponsible of the media to make this call when the New Jersey Secretary of State doesn't even know how many ballots are left to be counted. There are thousands of ballots, mail-in ballots, that are left to be counted. Those that are postmarked, that were postmarked by November 2nd, which was Tuesday, they have up until November 8th, which is Monday, to be counted. And after that, Savannah, then they start to count the provisional ballots. But experts say that those ballots are basically in Democratic strongholds, and they expect the majority of those votes will go to Murphy. Savannah?
All right, so still a little bit more to watch for here. Now, Rahema, this race, as I mentioned, was closer than expected. and can really kind of be seen as a warning sign for Democrats. This wasn't the only race in the state, though. Some down ballot results show the party's hold in the state may not be as strong as they thought. Tell us about those.
Well, one of them, I think that's getting a lot of attention, is the one involving the Senate president. His name is Stephen Sweeney, and he's the longest running office holder in the state of New Jersey. He's now trailing in his bid for re-election behind a Republican truck driver who reportedly spent $153, one more time now, $153 on his campaign. Now, if he holds that lead, it would be a stunning upset in this state for, again, the man who's held his office for the longest in New Jersey history. And it would topple things as far as policies go in the State House and lead to probably a re-election or an election, if you will, of a new Senate leader. Stunning, stunning here in New Jersey.
Yeah, wow. All right, Rahima Ellis, thank you so much.
To Washington now, where House Democrats have added paid family leave back into President Biden's social policy spending package. The proposal includes 4 weeks of paid leave. It was initially dropped last week after opposition from Senator Joe Manchin as Democrats scrambled to hammer out an agreement. NBC News Capitol Hill correspondent Leanne Caldwell joins us now. So, Leanne, family leave back in the bill, it appears. Democrats have been struggling to pass this social spending piece of the president's economic agenda, facing resistance from moderates within their own party. So why add it back only a week after it was removed because it didn't look like it was going to pass with it in?
Yeah, so, Joe, this is House Speaker Nancy Pelosi. She knows this has been a priority for her. This has been a priority for so many women in the Democratic caucus and progressives. And there's actually a lot of moderates who wanted this provision as well. And Speaker Pelosi is making some last-minute decisions before they hope to vote on this legislation as early as this week. And she is saying that one person in the Senate is not going to hold up this legislation and this provision. So she decided to put it back in there. We don't know if it's going to last in the Senate, though.
As we mentioned, it's been getting pushed back, the whole spending plan, from key centrists, mainly Senator Joe Manchin of West Virginia. Democrats are going to need his support to get this proposal through. Doesn't look like he supports adding this back into the bill right now, does he?
He does not seem to be supportive. And in fact, he was actually surprised when our colleague Ali Vitale broke the news to him that, in fact, the Speaker Pelosi was putting it back in the House version of the bill. Listen to how he responded.
Well, hearing that, what do you think?
Well, that's a challenge, very much of a challenge, and they know how I feel about it.
So a challenge. There is a Senate source who told me that it is going to be a fight in the Senate, and they are going to work to keep it in this legislation, but it's unclear if it'll pass with it in it. Joe.
Leanne, I want to ask you about something else happening on the Hill today. Yes, there are other things. Dr. Fauci, CDC Director Dr. Walensky are testifying before a Senate committee on the next steps in the nation's COVID-19 response. Dr. Walensky just approved the Pfizer vaccine for kids aged 5 to 11. So what can we expect from this hearing today?
Yeah, the timing is super important. It's coming. This hearing was scheduled before this announcement, but you could be sure that there are going to be a lot of questions about the young children who are able to receive that vaccine. This is definitely going to be a topic of today's hearing, as lawmakers, both Republican and Democratic, are going to want to hear a lot of answers to ensure its safety and also the importance of children being vaccinated in this ongoing pandemic, Joe.
All right. Leanne Caldwell. Leanne, thanks so much.
Let's now get a check on your morning news now weather.
Michelle Grossman is in for Bill Cairns. Michelle, good morning.
Good morning, guys. And guess what? We're off to another cold start. It was so cold yesterday, and we're a few degrees colder in some spots today. So we're looking at below freezing temperatures in so many areas. Actually, 106 million people seeing morning lows at or below 32 degrees. So November is here, and we are looking at watches and warnings in terms of freeze watches and warnings for 39 million people. It stretches from the central to southern plains through the Tennessee Valley up through the mid-Atlantic, and this is going to stay in place for quite a while. So right now it's 32 in Chicago, just above freezing in St. Louis, but below freezing in Pittsburgh this morning. You're cold in Cincinnati, just 32 degrees or 30 degrees and 34 in Nashville. So it is cold for November. We're about 10 degrees, even 15 degrees cooler in some spots compared to normal. Atlanta, you're 15 degrees below what is typical for this time of year. So 53 by this afternoon, just in the 40s in Raleigh. You're supposed to be about 65 degrees. And tomorrow that chill stays in place for your Friday. So 60s in the southeast for Savannah, Myrtle Beach, also Jacksonville. And then we start to rebound. That's the good news by the weekend. So as we look towards Sunday and Monday, D.C., we're looking at 64 degrees. That's closer to normal. And we even have a projection of some 70s for the Northeast later next week, but we'll talk about that later. We're also looking at some umbrellas going up in the Southeast. We have a storm system that brought rain to Texas. It's now crossing through the Gulf of Mexico, bringing rain later today into the state of Florida. So we're going to see those showers developing throughout the day. And then it's really Friday where we're going to see some soaking rain. We could see anywhere from 1 to 3 inches. By Saturday, it kind of emerges into the Atlantic. It gets a little more energy, and it's going to bring more rain to the Carolinas. You can see where you see the colors of red and orange and yellows. That's indicating some heavier rain along the coast there. So here's your rainfall forecast, especially in the state of Florida. We're looking up to 3 inches in some spots. That includes Daytona Beach, north of Orlando as well. So if you do have some Disney plans, you may be wet on Saturday. All the way across the country, we're also looking at some umbrellas going up in the Pacific Northwest, even some higher elevation snows in the Cascades. So we have a parade of storms that's going to move through over the next several days, and we're looking at some heavy wind as well. And you guys, as we go throughout the weekend, we're going to warm it up for many of us. I'll give you the forecast for the marathon next hour, because we do have a friend, Bill Cairns, running it. And it's looking pretty good. We're looking at pretty ideal marathon conditions.
Oh, that's good to hear.
Yeah,
You'll enjoy that.
We're so excited for him. And that's a tease, your weekend forecast next hour. Thanks, Michelle.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.